Padres Hot Tub, everybody. It is me. I'm Craig Elsten. It's him. That's Chris Reed. Raphie Cantor. He's the other one right there. It's the three of us. We're together with you once again, recording on Sunday, June 2nd. Padres probably have landed already, or else are very close to it at the time that we are recording, heading from Kansas City to Anaheim, where they will take on the Angels. As you are probably listening or watching this show, we are a YouTube channel. We want to remind you to like this show. If you are watching this on YouTube, to please hit that subscribe button and subscribe to the Padres Hot Tub channel, where Chris has started creating read caps once again. Lord knows, I think the summer will bring some Pods Above replacement in the near future when our two hosts stop becoming doctors and Emmy Award winners. After that, they'll have a little time to nerd out with some stats with you. So check it out. Thank you for being here. We appreciate it. We appreciate it very much. Well, guys, hey, let's be very Mike Schilt here. We're very scan company man.
We're not alibi nothing. We're not gonna alibi that.
Let's start with some real positives, fellas. 8 series wins out of 10. That's another road series win. Another road series win over a good quality team there for your fighting San Diego Padres.
Sure was against a really good team.
Yeah. They're stacking them. That's all we can. I mean, like it's hard for me to be super, super critical when you stack 8 out of 10. And when we did our Concernometer show and we were ready to pull the panic button on this team, they've been really solid. You know, they haven't like snapped off like a crazy stretch yet, but they've basically been pacing 2 out of 3, a little less than that. And I don't know what else you can ask for. So we're gamers. We're gamers on this pod. They're gamers on the field. I like the energy you're bringing, Craig.
Gaming.
Winning gamers.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Gamers. Sorry, Chris. I thought you had something right there.
No, I was just like gaming. That's what they are. You know, Royals came in really hot. I thought this was a little bit of a scary matchup considering last year they lost to this team. But, I mean, one record-breaking night follows, the one 3 days before here at home. Padres have that just insane inning in the 8th Friday night. Carried a little bit of that momentum into Saturday, and then today give one away that leaves a little bit of a bad taste in the mouth. But overall, the team is well composed. They've just kind of worn the Xander injury and moved on. They got kneecapped this weekend with the news that Yu Darvish and Joe Musgrove are heading to the IL, but didn't see any letdown on the field. You saw guys out there trying to win games. So very entertaining week. I love the Central games because I can watch them, just basically start to finish without interfering with bath time or anything like that. So got to watch every bit of Padres baseball until the top of the 8th. Padres baseball live until the bottom of the 8th today, when I was certain we were heading for a victory as I went to talk with my landlord.
Well, that's his fault. And so not really yours. But
it's Raphie's fault is what it was, because he started planning for another emergency pod just like he did last time.
I think that was actually you, Chris. I think that was you.
What?
Yeah, you declared it last time.
I did not.
Just said
no, not today. I'm talking about last time.
Well, last time I declared it in the Discord. I didn't start putting together our plans for when they beat the Marlins, but
he made sure not to write the word sweep. He X'd out some of the words.
I use the asterisks, like when you're writing no hitter, when it's happening, you say like N asterisk, H asterisk,
We can't plan emergency pods. They just have to be emergencies, like when your sprinkler system is broken in your front yard and you're needing to have your landlord possibly repipe your house. That type of thing.
Got it. I thought this was a very satisfying series win. I thought it was arguably the Padres' luckiest series win of the year to date. And it was going to be the most sweetly satisfying until poor Yuki couldn't finish it off. in the ninth inning. Everything up until Yuki today was just honestly as well as you could draw it up, facing a great pitcher in Cole Reagans, and really having to kind of scrap with your Sunday lineup and with a bullpen that was completely reduced, which brings me back. I think what I wrote was it's another great series, but it's also another what could have been, because you beat the Marlins twice and then you go out there in a matchup that looks pretty good and you get completely slammed at home and you lose 9-1 and you walk away and you go, okay, 2 out of 3, but what could have been, we could have had a sweep. And then you go to Kansas City and you win Friday's game in the end by a drop in temperature of a couple of degrees over the course of a half hour and a couple of feet in the air. It was hit 385 feet to a 387-foot sign. And like literally an hour earlier, it would have sailed over the wall. But it cools off a little bit, and the ball hung up just enough for the Padres to win. But that was a game that they led by 8 going into the ninth inning, that the other team had given up, taken out their star player, and used a position player to pitch in the top of the inning. And they wound up needing their closer, Robert Suarez, to finish it out. And in the end, that's what cost them the sweep this weekend. Plain and simple. Stephen Kolek cost this team a sweep this weekend by being unable to execute, finishing a game that you're leading 11-3 that the other team has actually given up in the bottom of the ninth inning. And he could not finish the game, and the team had to use its closer in that game and then use him the next day as well in a 4-run game and not have him for Sunday's game. So, it leaves me completely at peace. Yuki's not ready to close a game. And Suarez was there, but he couldn't be used 3 straight days when there's no days off the entire week to come. And the reason he had to be used on Friday was because Stephen Kolek couldn't protect an 8-run lead in the ninth inning. And it's really that simple. And it's not like I hate Stephen Kolek. It's that's the simple history of what happened this weekend, is that this kid couldn't pitch 3 outs with an 8-run lead. And because of that, and Robert Suarez having to be used, he wasn't available Sunday. And there you go.
Okay. I don't disagree with what you're saying about the fact that that Kolek couldn't close it out is what cost them the series ultimately. My question for you is, you said that this was the luckiest series win that they've had, and I don't think I agree with that. So I want to hear why you think it's the luckiest one they've had.
Because they absolutely could have lost Friday's game.
Sure.
They absolutely, like that ball off the bat. I mean, I heard the next day both Don and Mud go, like, I thought it was gone. And I thought it was gone for sure. And the not for nothing, but I've told you guys, like, the horror of, like, when I know my internet's a little behind and then I feel my phone buzz, and it's like, because I only get notification for game over or scoring change. And at that point, both were in play with the tying run at the plate. And so I felt the buzz as the pitch was released and the ball went in the air. And I was like, oh my God, he hit it. It's over. They did it. They blew an 8-run lead in the ninth. We'll talk about that more later. But and then of course he catches it at the wall. Zokar catches it at the wall. That's crazy that they didn't finish blowing that game. But Saturday, the Padres had to get 31 outs to finish that game. Manny had an error and another misplay at third base, and Profar just in left, when Morejon was out there, he gave up 2 doubles that almost every left fielder would have caught in the league. That, unfortunately, Jurickson and big outfields don't mix. Like, they just do not mix. And Kaufman has a big outfield. Alex Gordon, he is not. We love him. He's hitting incredible. I hope he makes the All-Star game. But Jurickson's weakness is outfield defense. I'm kind of stealing some of the middle of the menu here when you're asking me why it's lucky. We won that game. Like that blew my mind. And then here on Sunday, another game. You're facing Reagan. You're supposed to lose. You have the game right there. You got 3-1 in the ninth. I don't know. Maybe it's not lucky. Why wasn't it lucky?
They scored 7 runs.
Well, yeah,
fair.
they scored 8 runs in the eighth inning? The Padres scored 9 runs, 7 runs.
In the first game, 9 runs.
Yeah, and on Friday, they scored 9
yeah.
runs in the 8th inning.
Yeah,
and I would say that when you're having 11-3 lead going into the 9th inning, and I'm not going to defend the way Kolek pitched, but he did give up 3 hits that had like less than 50% chance of being hits. One of them had an expected batting average of 200, and any of those don't fall for hits. It's not even close to the tying run coming up to the plate. So, to me, I consider like Friday's game to be like unlucky that we were in that position. Like,
okay,
if they had run a position player out there with the 8-run lead in the 9th, like I'd say like they had more than 50% of the time they're probably winning that game. I'd say far more than 50% of the time they're winning that game, and it's not close. Like I just think that like Kolek had one of those nights and it sucks, and like that was both bad and unlucky that it got to that point. You know what I mean? Like, and to me, today's loss, and I texted this to you guys right when it happened, is like exactly how I expected us to lose that game. Not necessarily in terms of a walk-off, but like a low-scoring game in which our bullpen doesn't have the length against a good lefty starter. Like we knew going into today that our two best bullpen arms were not available. So it's like instantly bullpen depth is a question. We know going into today that this team is not good against left-handed pitching, and they don't really perform against lefties in a way that like literally Friday and Saturday, their bats made the games. Like I said, they were unlucky on Friday night for it to be as close as they were, but they basically, the offense took the game out of the Royals' hands, like on Friday and Saturday, essentially. And they weren't going to be able to do that today because they can't hit against lefties. And they weren't going to be able to protect a close lead today because they didn't have their best guys. So, like, I don't know. I feel like this series showed me exactly who I think the Padres are. And I'll do a more in-depth dive in terms of like the team home and away later on in the show. But they're really, really good offensively away. And they still can't really hit lefties. And their bullpen after Estrada's a question mark. And that's basically what we've known about the team for a month during this entire good stretch. And that was them this series. So that's how I feel.
I think calling it lucky also takes away from a really good performance by Randy Vasquez. Dylan Cease was fine, and the rest of the bullpen, besides Kolek, was really good throughout the weekend until they got to Matsui on Sunday. I do think Nelson Velasquez just, was given a little bit of karmic redemption today with his game-tying triple, pinch hit game-tying triple. He got one a little bit taken away from him. Not taken away from him because the Padres have had warning track shots, for time memorial. But and one finally happened to come our way. But today he got us, and a pretty potent Kansas City lineup that I have a really good friend who is a huge Royals fan. We talk about baseball probably more than any other, he's probably the friend I talk most baseball with. And he said the Royals have been a late game team. Lots of 7th, 8th, 9th inning comebacks. And that's kind of who they were. And he was still surprised to see them in it Friday night, but he was not surprised tonight when they this afternoon when they came back and got us. So I feel like this is the formula of the team. Like you said, Raphie, you feel like this series showed who they are. I think you're kind of right. They're going to get homers from Tatis that'll blow open games. They're going to string hits together. And rely on their pitching to give at least as close to quality starts as they can, and have the game get shortened by Suarez and Jeremiah Estrada, and maybe a few other guys that will step up, but it probably won't be Yuki Matsui or Stephen Kolek in the late innings going forward.
Well, listen, thank you both, and I'm glad I set up a straw man for you both to just destroy
Fire away,
and
man.
shred to just little tiny pieces. I retract that they were lucky, Mr. Schilt, okay? I'm
There we
so
go.
sorry. It's not a roller coaster.
We're not alibying
and,
anything.
And they weren't lucky. Here's what maybe this is what I was feeling. The Royals are a really good team that had the second best home record in all of baseball. And the Padres escaped with 2 out of 3. Like they got 2 out of 3 in a situation where they didn't have Joe Musgrove, where they had to pitch their 6th starter, where it came down to a roll of the dice on the last play on both games, right? On Friday and Sunday, and it goes the Padres' way one way.
Bread games.
What's that?
In the bread games.
The bread game. Right,
bread
sandwich.
games.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard of the bread game. You just stopped me cold like bread games.
Bread games.
Like what the fuck is a bread game? What are you talking about? So I am very pleased that the Padres won 2 out of 3. And maybe this is more of what I mean, Raphie. We looked at last year, 82-80 with 1,001 run differential, and said, look at the 1-run record games. Look at the extra inning games. Look at the just late and close clutch kind of games. Padres just were as bad as you could possibly be in those games last year. We said, well, maybe this year's team will just have, we'll be more fortunate in that we'll win some of those games instead of losing them. And sure enough, in those games, we're like a little bit over 500 this year, as opposed to being a whole, everything and 0 and everything, or 1 and 13 or whatever we were at some point last year. And that's the difference, between and of course that's done with hard work and determination and guys playing together and stringing up big innings and Suarez being perfect. It has to do everything to do with Suarez being perfect. If Suarez just had an average number of blown saves, the Padres would be, earlier this week, there would have been 5 games under 500. Now they'd probably be like 2 games under 500. But still, like that would just, if he just had as many blown saves as Klaus, say, or Kimbrel, or Diaz, just, top closers in the game, like then the Padres would be way under 500. He's been that good and that important to the Padres' success so far this season.
That's why they pay him the big bucks, baby.
$10 million. Seems like it's worth it.
I think he's probably going to be done after this year because
nope, next year.
Next year, got it. I know it's not a true 5-year deal.
Right. There's 2 player options on the back end. That if he keeps being this, those player options are toast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
However, if he keeps doing this, what's the guarantee that 3 years from now he's pitching healthy baseball?
Yeah.
The way that he's up there ramping up 100.
I half expected to see him today, truth be told. Like, even with everything, like knowing what the schedule looks like, Mike Schilt has been so aggressive about, using guys. Like he used him last night with the 4-run lead. It almost kind of surprised me to not see him come in. Not entirely, but
I mean, he was already up and warming up, sort of thing. And I think it's like, if you're going to fire that bullet, you kind of like don't want to like put it in the chamber and then kind of like half take it out sort of thing.
Yeah.
So I think he was just like, whatever, wrap it up, get the insurance. Like, let's just do it. And I also think at a certain point, like you got to give your other guys like a shot, not for any reason, but just like there needs to be at least 3 people in the bullpen who you can turn to and reliably close the game. And I genuinely don't know if we have 3, like, because who else would you put in today? Curious.
I think there's one other option, and Padres fans don't trust him enough yet. But if you look at how guys are performing underlying, Adrian Morejon
pitched 2 innings the day before.
Yeah.
Oh shit, you're right.
Yeah, he wasn't available.
No chance.
Nope.
No chance.
He's not coming in.
It was Yuki. It was 100% Yuki.
And Yuki,
He just didn't get the job done today.
and he's been really freaking good. Like, this is what I was looking at, like, power ranking among MLB relievers last 14 days, number 29. Morahone had just been 5 places above him at 34, but dude had been really good. I don't fault Mike Schilt for really any of the decisions. Yesterday,
me
putting
neither.
in Suarez, today turning to Yuki. Like, they're there to do that job.
I think, Raphie, you made the very good point. Like, calling for a reliever to warm up is as big a deal as bringing them into the game.
Yeah.
So once you got him going, it didn't really matter that they turned it from 6-3 to 7-3. At that point, you just brought him in. You could have brought him. You could have pulled him down. The problem is, at that point, you're bringing in Yuki or Wandy Peralta or someone, or I don't remember if Wandy had already pitched. Like quickly getting them loose because Suarez was the one who was warming up. No one else was warming up. And then what do? They go and put 2 guys on and you bring Suarez in.
What they could have done is left Wandy in. Wandy had pitched to close out, I believe, the 8th and had thrown 3 pitches. So they could have had him stay in, but win the game, man. It's right there in front of you.
Win the game that's in front of you. And the next day, ask Yuki to finish it. And he didn't get the job done. C'est la vie. Move on. What are you going to do? Cut Yuki? Nope. Okay, move on. Right?
And also, it's worth saying that, like, this isn't a Monday morning quarterbacking or excuses or anything like that, but, like, Yuki's first few months in MLB, he has a fucking great splitter. And now it's 2 months in the season and teams have tape on it. And if he leaves that pitch up in the zone, which is what he did towards the end of today's game, like, guys are going to put it in the outfield. And, like, that's like, so it's just a game of adjustments. And, you know, this far into the season now, if Yuki's going to keep throwing the same splitter, he's going to have to throw it pretty perfectly. And there are some days where he can do that because he's a really good pitcher. And there's some days where he can't, and he's going to get blown up. And that's what happened today. And I'm like, I'm with you guys. Like, the process was good. Like, really, this whole weekend, there was no gripe that I had with anything Mike Schilt did. Which, as a, like, talking head on a podcast, being like, the manager did a good job in baseball is pretty fucking good. So, like, overall, like, I was really bummed that we didn't get the sweep, mostly because I was looking forward to waxing Craig on this show and just being talking about the bet that I would have won. And now Craig's bet's looking a little bit better every day. But, you know, we're on to Anaheim. Like, let's go.
Anaheim. Do you guys think Steven Kolick should be with the team all the way through that LA series? Or at least until somebody comes back?
Yeah.
Who's replacing him?
Logan Gillespie.
Okay. If Gillespie comes out and pitches great in this Anaheim series, at the next opportunity to bring in, you know, to move a reliever, I would agree with you. Look, I know it sounded like I was being tough on the kid earlier. You've got one job. When you are the Rule 5 pitcher, you've got one job. And I am not being unfair in pointing out that he didn't get a loss on Friday night, but he cost us Sunday's game. That game, Robert Suarez should have had a tequila in his hand and a cigar at the end of that game. It was 11-3.
Yeah.
And instead he had to come in and heat up and pitch and give up a hit and almost give up the game. I have to just say it before I forget, like, and tell this story. I think it might help explain, Raphie, why I said lucky earlier. Like, as you guys know, and I think most of our audience knows, but everyone's, you know, we get new audience all the time. So it's sometimes traumatizing for me to mention that I grew up in Long Beach and I did grow up a Dodger fan. And I was a very big fan of the Dodgers as a teenager, you know, and then there was a transition in the 1990s, and then in this century, I've been a Padres fan all the way, okay? But I grew up a Dodger fan. Summer after my senior year in high school, the Dodgers blew an 8-run lead in the 9th to the Philadelphia Phillies. And the Phillies got 9 runs in the 9th and beat them, I believe it was 12-11.
Darren Dalton, Lenny Dykstra combo. Potent.
I think it was Mickey Morandini, but I'm not exactly positive.
Another just heavy hitter.
Yeah, I know that Tim Cruz gave it up, and poor Tim Cruz died later in a boating accident with Bobby Ojeda.
Yeah. Wow.
But that game traumatized me. Like, it was a traumatic event that I still remembered, which I realized during the 9th inning with the Royals as they started putting it all together. And it was like, hang on a second. At the point where Suarez comes in, if he just gives up a hit, the next guy could homer and it would be a tie game. And like, my son James was on the couch forced to watch and like doing his like YouTube impression of like basically trolling me, and like anything I said he was like kind of like nagging, or like, I'm like, well, now Suarez is
That's
in,
awesome.
he's gonna throw 100, and he's like, oh well, he's gonna get hurt. And I'm like, shut up. And it's like,
whoa,
but
dial it down, James.
I explained it later. I'm like, I still remember this game from August of 1990 when my team blew an 8-run lead. I'm like, I know if the Padres lose this game, it's gonna fuck the whole season. Like, this is gonna be the game that we're gonna remember. When we went on the road and we were up 11-3, and none of it mattered because a Rule 5 kid came out, and yeah, a couple of the sinkers were ground balls, and if it was better aimed, it would have been an out. And that's the metric way of getting through it. But those are hits. Ground ball gets through, it's still a base hit. Same thing that if we're going to take that away, we have to take away like 7 of the hits that the Padres got in their 9-run 8th inning. So, like, you can't do that. You can't do that. You can't carry a Rule 5 kid who can't do that. If you can't do that, you can't be on the team. It's really that simple. If you can't do that one thing, 8 runs, 9th inning, Suarez needs the night off tonight. Like, this game, even if you give up 4, this game has to end before we have to get somebody else into the game. So with that said, today there's nobody, right? There's no obvious candidate. There's no Estrada waiting at El Paso right now for the Padres. But when the next opportunity comes, we can't keep holding on to this. What are we holding on to? We're holding on to somebody who couldn't hold an 8-run lead in the ninth.
The story on the guy is a degree of bad luck and then home runs, which means he's making mistakes in the zone when he's making them. And I mean, he's got an extremely low xFIP, lower than just about anybody not named Morejon, Estrada, Suarez, or Cease. But then everything gets worse as it comes into the real world, with it now rocking a just straight devilish 6.66 ERA and a too high home run rate for a guy who's going to come in and pitch an inning. So that's the thing, his utility just on this team isn't there. Like, I don't want him in 5-run mop up duty. And if you don't want him there, then you don't want him. And that's it. It's just what it is.
Anywho, that's all for Stephen Kolek. Here's something that's a lot better news. Looks like Fernando Tatis, knock on whatever wood you've got nearby if you're listening or watching, is starting to get it cranking for the San Diego Padres. He is on an 8-game hitting streak right now. 3 of those 8 games are multi-hit games. But more than 3 of them are multi-on-base games along the way, as he's drawn a couple of walks, a handful of walks along the way. Hit a home run on Saturday, came through with a huge hit on Sunday. He's hitting the ball to the opposite field. The metrics are conforming, and his career OPS in the month of June is over 1,000. And a lot of that was done early in his career, but the Padres need swaggy Fernando to help carry them as Manny continues to be a very well-paid singles hitter that plays good defense at third base, or usually good defense at third base. So I'm very excited to see that the calendar flipped to June, and now we've seen some hot Fernando over the course of this weekend so far.
We had seen him warming up a little bit in his approach, not looking disheartened in at bats, head down, playing good. And then Friday night, he hit everything really hard. I think every single hit he made was over 95 miles per hour, and just kind of locked in with his approach, being smart at the plate. Big home run to kick things off. Yesterday, Saturday. Uh, you know, it's just what the club's kind of win condition is at least him or Tatis Machado going, and him at the top of the lineup with the dynamicism he brings. Even on the base pass, we got a little bit of a glimpse of it. It didn't quite go the way they wanted, but Mike Schilt talked about liking the aggressiveness. I liked it. That's old Fernando Tatis Jr. That is the dude we know. I had to go to the Royals broadcast fail Padres TV to see if he did his stutter step while trotting around the bases today. And sure enough, he did. Yesterday. Sure enough, he did. So Swaggy Tatis is back. All green lights on the rocket, man, to the moon. Let's see it.
Yeah, and just to put some numbers on, what we've been talking about since May 23rd, this is 39 plate appearances, 333 average, 385 on base, 556 slugging. So he's getting back up there to 174 WRC plus, and during that time, critically, he's had an exit velocity of 96.4 miles per hour. He's 92 on the year, which is 33rd in baseball. So, if you're at 92 on the year and you're ranked 33rd, a 96.7 on average, right now that would be second in baseball over the course of a season. Only Aaron Judge is higher at 97.1 on the year. So he's hitting the absolute snot out of the ball, which, as we've talked about, coming back from that surgery, the question was always like, was the power going to be there? It's clear that the oomph is there. And same goes for Manny, by the way. If Manny, it's a launch ankle problem, and that's where we're at too. And it's just Tatis is starting to lift the ball. And, like you said, Craig, I think this is going to shape up to be a really good month for him, playing against some favorable teams. And it better be, because Tatis being Tatis is what this team is literally built around. So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. And you need him against lefties. Against the Angels, you're going to see Tyler Anderson, who's pitching well. But I think Sandoval is also scheduled. Wait, you've got it written down. And he has not been pitching well. The Padres, letters to AJ, wrote this through, did the analysis, did the research, and really showed that we've gotten the buzzard's luck in terms of the draw against lefties. We've drawn all the top cards in the deck in terms of the pitchers we'd have to face. And Cole Reagans is another example of that. That's a great left-hander in the American League. So, today's game, as we kind of flitter about like a butterfly on the breeze, I don't want to omit discussing Michael King. Michael King was tremendous. 7 innings, 1 run, economical with his pitches. He was the key to even having a chance to do a win condition that involved De Los Santos and Matsui to end the game. It was 100%. You had to go 7 to get there, and he had a guy that was unrelenting on the other side, and he was unrelenting on his side. So, King lowered his ERA below 4, and the Padres, this is where we do make a transition, are going to need a lot of Michael King. They're going to need a lot of Dylan Cease and their third starter, Matt Waldron, because Randy Vasquez is now the 4th starter on this team. And Tuesday, Adam Major, who has been getting clobbered in El Paso after a first good
Doesn't
start.
Count.
I know, it doesn't count. Hopefully it doesn't count. Adam Major is going to be Tuesday's starter. They won't talk about it until Tuesday afternoon, but he's going to be Tuesday's starter for the Padres. And for at least 2 or 3 turns, like a minimum, I think, of 3 turns, to get just Darvish back if things work out and use leg situation is not a longer term issue. But Joe Musgrove's gone. I don't know how long, but when you start a tweet with the team doesn't believe it's season ending at this time,
Yeah.
it directly leads to a time when they do believe it's season ending.
Yeah, that's
It's like implicit in the right.
Yeah.
We've
It's like
got a writer
Candyland.
here on the show. Isn't it implicit in the writing that when
It's
you
like
say they do not believe
Candyland.
it's season ending at this time?
You might get up to the lollipop, but then you're going to get pulled back down to the gumdrop. But all roads lead to Candy King's castle, right?
No, we've talked a long time about the Padres needing an injury translator, much like that old Key and Peele sketch, which is very funny, of Obama's anger translator. And so doesn't believe to be season ending means that he's done. And if they were to say that he was being sent to the 60-day IL, he's actually in a Siberian gulag. So I don't expect to see Joe until at least after the All-Star break is where I'm in mentally.
I think he's done for the year, and he's probably going to have surgery in the next few weeks. You know, they're going to give it time for the swelling to go down, get all the imaging for it. But he has been dealing with stuff all year long, man. He has not been right. Yeah, he's had outings where things have come together, and then he went on the IL after one such outing. A few weeks back. Yeah.
Each of the last 2 times he pitched well, he immediately went on the injured list before his next start.
Yeah. So, dude, it's been speculated about quite a bit in our Discord about Joe's health. And we know he's not going to be honest because the dude wants to be out on the field competing. We know the type of athlete he is. And it's gonna hit hard when it comes down. I don't think it's hit anybody yet, but I'm fairly certain Joe's done.
Can I just counter though really quickly, because let's just say they're looking at the worst case and they're saying he needs Tommy John. Okay, that is going to be a 15-month recovery. He's already out the rest of this year and all of next year, basically. Unless you're having him come back in October or September of 2025, which I don't think that they're going to have him do.
There's bracing procedures that are only 12 months. Yeah, but right. I get you. Yeah.
I'm just saying, let's say for the sake of argument, we're talking on a traditional Tommy John timeline.
Yeah.
There's not a tangible difference in terms of the team between him getting the surgery now and getting the surgery in August. And because this team can be chicken shit when it's dealing with its players in terms of injury, and Joe's, Joe, he's going to be like, I could do it. I can come back. I can do it. Just like I remember in 2020 when it was COVID and the playoffs, we heard there was a forecast of sunshine. Going to be pitching in the NLDS. Yep. And what happened? He came in and he threw an inning, and then he immediately got Tommy John, and he also immediately was also a terrible person. So,
that's what did it. That's what did it.
This team couldn't say, hey, you're done. And so I think Joe Musgrove, San Diego Joe, no Joe, he says that he wants to give another shot in 15 days. They're going to let him give another shot. And yeah, I think probably more likely than not, if it's what we think it is, he'll be done. And they'll be like, well, we tried, That's why I think he's coming back.
Right.
Yeah.
You're 100% right. And listen, they have a biometrics lab. And when they say stuff like they did this weekend, where they said we've compared it to his baselines and it looks good. I'm good. Okay. In the injury translator, I don't know what it means. It comes out like gobbledygook. It comes out with all these spirals and stars and a rainbow. And I just don't know. The translator can't explain it. But I mean, the batters let you know. And the arm lets you know. Pain lets you know. He couldn't make the next start. So the Padres are going to have to trade for another starter. if they want to make it to the promised land. I'm sorry, but the math isn't going to work out. The math isn't going to math. You're not going to get 100 innings out of Adam Major in the major leagues this year. You needed 100 more innings out of Joe Musgrove this year. And you might get a hard-fought 7. You might get another 50. You might get another 75. You're not going to get 100 innings. And so instead of being able to fire your last piece at something else, you're probably going to have to fire it at getting another starting pitcher for this team to get us over the finish line.
Maybe.
I think definitely. I think they needed a guy. I thought our proposal for Michael King to be elite bullpen ace for the playoffs was a good one. Now that is totally kind of done. You can't count on a healthy season out of Musgrove and Darvish. So you need another guy. I've thought starting pitching was at the top, if not relief pitching was at the top of their trade needs. And now it definitely moves to number one.
I don't know how this happened, where now I'm the optimist. But like, I am not feeling like Darvish and Musgrove going down, bad. Big. They're the biggest money commitments we have on the pitching side. Like, I'm not trying to say like this is okay. No, this sucks. And especially like for you, Darvish, you're going to expect that this is going to happen over the next 6 years because he's just getting older. And that's just what happens. Like, your body's not going to be as nimble. You're not going to be as flexible. Like, this stuff is going to happen.
That being said, I'm old and my elbows hurt every day.
That being said, I know Joe Musgrove has started to turn it around. Under questionable health, who's to say? But on the year, Joe Musgrove has a 5.66 ERA. Just looking at the aggregate. All right? Are we sure Randy Vasquez can't do that? Are we sure?
But are we sure that we're a playoff team with a major starting pitcher firing at a 5.66?
Correct.
We're expecting way more than that from Joe Musgrove. We're expecting the kind of starts we got the last 2 times before he got hurt, where he pitches into the 6th inning and is shut out or 1 run allowed. That's what we need from Joe Musgrove. So, yes, we can replace a 5.66 ERA with another minor leaguer pitching to a 5.66 ERA. But that will keep the Padres on their 82, 83 win baby roller coaster here, because that's what continues to keep us from getting a sweep. Right? Is we have these time bomb performances that move their way in. So that's why I think it's important that we continue to address this situation. I fear, like 2 months from now, I would have said like maybe we can get across the line with Major or Snelling or something, but I don't know. Unless he comes back, I feel like we're going to just have to trade for a starter.
I'm just not willing to go there yet. Like, it's not Musgrove, it's Darvish. If Darvish doesn't come back. And Darvish, is a shell of himself when he comes back, then I'll press the red button and say, all right, we got to trade for someone. But like, the whole point of the Soto trade is that you have the redundancies built in that you can weather one of these. And right now,
it's right now it's just Vasquez pitch under a 6 ERA. That's it.
Yeah, we need to survive 2 weeks, of which we're facing the Angels, and then we're facing the Diamondbacks, who have been stifling right now and not really doing well. And I don't even remember who comes after the Diamondbacks.
A's.
So shame on me.
Dude,
the A's. Thank you.
All 3 of the Yankees boys are question marks on whether they can endure a full season being a starting pitcher. Michael King, never been a full season starting pitcher. Johnny Brito, never done it. Randy Vasquez, never done it. So, Yu Darvish, I feel like when you sign Yu Darvish through your age 42 season, you're expecting there are times when he has a rest during the year. Now, maybe that's the plan, that they're going to have him on his feet for October. Then you have Cease, you have Darvish. Like I said, I'm assuming Joe's gone. And then it gets to be really kind of a question mark, guys. Like, and I don't like 2021 has burned into my skull the trope of never having enough pitching. And if there's a team that, it's going to be a bidding war for Jesus Luzardo. Like, there's going to be 3 or 4 clubs that want him. And the Marlins are going to get a ton for him because he's arbitration eligible for a couple years, doesn't make a lot of money. He's going to be a thing. But the second tier, the Trevor, what's his name for friggin' Washington? Trevor Williams?
Yeah.
The friggin' definitely not the Mike Clevengers, but
Fetty,
Gibson,
maybe. Fetty
Fetty.
with
I take your
White
point.
Sox.
Like, that's what I mean. Just like they're going to need a little bit reinforcing so that, gosh, it isn't Robbie Snelling coming up in September in must-win starts, that it isn't some of these second-tier guys. Just one other vet. Heck, friggin' Nick Martinez is sitting there on a 2-year contract that you might be able to absorb a little bit of this year and then into next.
That's actually a pretty good idea. But I want to tack onto that, or piggyback off it. Robbie Snelling, 9 games started, 42 innings, 36 strikeouts, 1.55 WHIP, ERA of 5.14, 1-4 record in Double-A. Ryan Bergert also in Double-A, 0-5 in 10 starts. 42 2/3 innings, 1.5 WHIP, 33 strikeouts, 5.7 ERA. So the guys that are like we've got depth we can overcome. I mean, Mazur's numbers are worse in AAA, but like we said, we're trying to kind of overcome that because we've seen Waldron, et cetera, et cetera. I'm excited / nervous to see what Mazur can bring, but I've got a Reese Kinnear feel to what could happen to that, when you're bringing up a kid like that. So I think it's crystal clear. We don't have, if we don't have Musgrove the rest of the year, now you're asking Randy Vasquez to pitch 130 innings for this team. And that, I don't know, maybe, but I think it's just crystal clear. We're going to need a bridge. We're going to need something, and I'm not thrilled about it. Trust me, Reef. I don't want to trade. Like, I feel like we've got limited resources. We're going to have to trade one of those pitchers to get a pitcher.
That's what I'm saying. Like, the credit card is coming close to being due.
Being maxed
at a certain
out.
point. Yeah, we're about to max it out. And, 2025, we have a lot of holdovers from this year. We still have Arise, we still have King, we still have Cease, we still have those guys. 2026, they gone. And that is not as far away as you think it is.
No. It's right around the corner.
What are you guys talking about? We're never even going to get to 2026. It's not a real year.
Yeah, I know.
What,
Civil War.
Are monkeys going to rule the world?
Right, that's a good point. Never mind. This could be the disputed lands. I mean,
yeah,
2026 isn't real.
It's fair. I saw all the way to the end of Brockmire. I understand what you're saying. But yeah, it's a looming issue now. If Darvish can come back and be a rock, then I'm more Raphie side on this in terms of, okay, we might be able to hold the fort. We might be able to dance and get there. The guy who's not stepping up, sorry to say, is Johnny Brito.
Sure.
If you tell me Johnny Brito's starting a game, I'm going to tell you the Padres are losing that game. Like, that's no. You're not going to hit on every guy. And I understand. But when I watch Johnny Brito, what I don't understand is how he's got a plan to get big league hitters out. Because what I see is just hot served over the top, right over the middle, just pow, 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 pow. He doesn't get strikeouts. He gives up smash. He gives up exit velocity. I don't know what the win condition for him is, that when he gives up a smash, it's hit at a guy. and somebody makes a great play. And atom ball pitchers aren't reliable starters. So if Johnny Brito was able to step up now and be the next guy up, instead of us reaching into our not yet ripe minor league depth, this would be a much better situation for San Diego. I'm just sorry to say, but the other guy who could have closed out Sunday to Friday, I guess, would have been our boy Johnny Brito, but he's also pretty unreliable to close out an 8-run game in the ninth.
A little bit of hope for you, Craig. Johnny Brito's career strikeout rates have been around 20%. Right now, he is lowest on the team with 12.5. So, that could trek up. You might start seeing him miss a little bit more bats. But I mean, you're absolutely right. He was kind of billed as kind of like this guy that could be a fifth starter and looked the part a little bit in spring, had some solid outings, and then struggled a lot in his turn to the bullpen and hasn't really quite going on any sort of steady rhythm since then.
Yeah. And I just want to say we were on our last, I think it was our last show, our last main show, we were talking about the best thing for the team this year and the worst team for the year. I can't remember what it was. Best surprise. And I don't know. Craig, you had the correct answers for what they were, and I just remember saying it was sneaky good that Matt Waldron is a viable starter for this team, and now it's actually maybe season saving that Matt Waldron is a viable starter on this team.
Yeah, no, you're not kidding. Yeah. It's now important.
Yeah,
that he keeps the baton going. That he carries it. It was important today that Michael King was great. Yeah. There's still room for excitement. It's something we haven't mentioned. Luis Suarez, he said after Sunday's game, he's going to be in the lineup Monday. So hopefully when you hear this, that's true. And then we can just move along. But he did kind of he dinged his shoulder, I guess would be the way that you could say it nicely. He was reaching awkwardly. He felt something. He came out of the game. He told reporters he'd be in the lineup tomorrow. That's not necessarily gospel, although on the radio it will be treated as such until the lineup comes out. But Padres can't afford to lose Luis Suarez.
This is so scary, man. I hated that.
This guy's so important. Personally, I started to talk. I think I got Andy convinced on this on Friday, but I'd like to see him and Fernando flip-flop. I'd like to see Nando lead off and Arise bat second. Because just when you're when you're leading off an inning, there's no difference between a single and a walk. There's none. So all those singles are just one on base unit. When you get 3 hits, it's just 3 on base units with nobody on. But when there's runners on, a hit scores a run. A walk doesn't do anything. A hit scores a run. And I think that Arise having no speed and Tatis having good speed could set up even more situations where runners are moving. Tatis gets on, and now he moves, and the fielders are moving, and Arise.
You're just trying to get Ha-Seong Kim to lead off again. That's what all this is. This is a puppet show.
He's hitting 282 over the last 10 games.
I see what you're the picture you're painting, which is Tatis gets on or walks or whatever, and then he steals a base, and then you have him on second base so that Arise knocks him in. And they score a run. But you know what's a lot cooler than 1 run? 2 runs. 2-run home runs. And what do you think is more likely than not? That Tatis stays a singles hitter who occasionally runs into one forever? Or that Tatis, especially in June, is hitting ding-dongs? And I think he's hitting ding-dongs.
Smacking them ding-dongs.
Yeah. I think I'm taking the over on that one.
I know. I've argued for Tatis to bat second. We had this discussion on the show months ago, and I've always said Tatis second because of that. Just what you said, 2-run homer better than 1-run homer. I want his power to play. So I agree, but I don't know. They would do Larry leadoff with Tony for a few weeks here and there, but like he hit second and third because we wanted the hits to mean something. And
But
I
lineups
just
are
feel like hits
composed
are
differently
devalued in
these
the
days.
leadoff spot.
A little bit, but when the Padres are playing their, big daddy lineup, when Xander comes back, Ha-Seong Kim is batting ninth. Jackson Merrill's batting ninth. And then
Right.
they're the guy that's in front of Arise.
Right.
Ever since he came, I've only wanted to see Arise hitting in front of Tatis. I don't know if protection is a real thing, but I do know that having depth, meaning each guy after the other is dangerous, is a real thing. And it's worked. It's worked really well. So let's, I wouldn't go pulling those levers just yet.
Fine. Here I am just setting up things for you guys to knock down all night. Padres head into look. The schedule is getting easier at the right time.
Opportune, at least.
Because the team still has a narrow margin. We're going to see that in this coming series when the Padres throw Waldron, Major, Cease against the Angels. The Angels are 7-21 at home against the Padres, who have won 19 away. That's incredible. Well, you know what? This is the perfect time to clear space for this. Because Rafe, you wanted to talk about park effects, and I think we saw. Here's my entry for you. I think we saw a little bit of this because Kauffman Stadium has a very large outfield.
Mm-hmm.
Like Coors Field has a
stadium.
very large outfield, and the Padres' batting average rises in situations like that, just like Jurickson Profar's ability to catch the ball suffers because he has to run much further than the comparably small outfield at Petco Park. But Raphie, maybe the numbers are showing us that the comparably small outfield at Petco Park also depresses getting base hits.
That's exactly right. So basically, we're now a couple months into the season. It's still a pretty small sample size, like generally for park factors. The standard is actually to look at 3-year rolling park factors when you're looking at sample size. But I think in case of this team, because this team is so different than other Padres teams that we've had over the last few years, and Petco is performing in a way that's really interesting compared to the last few years. Right now, as it will not surprise anyone, Petco's giving up a ton of homers, and it's not giving up a lot else. I'm going to list off the park factors for you, and as a reminder, when I'm saying this, 100 is average. So anything more than 100 is above average, and anything below 100 is below average. So right now, Petco's park factor, its overall offensive, output, standard, whatever, is 98, which is ranked 21st in baseball. So it's a pitcher's park, but it's not like a crazy slant. But the way it's doing this is super weird. Right now, it is 29th in baseball in terms of giving up singles. It has an 87 singles park factor. It is 17th in doubles at 97, 16th in triples at 101. But it is second in all of baseball in terms of giving up the most home runs. It has a park factor of 133 for home runs. And if you look at the Padres' ranks in these specific statistical categories, it all matches up. The Padres are, in terms of home batting average, 224, that's 26th. In terms of doubles, 38 at home, that's 26th. Triples, 3 at home, that's 23rd. And home runs, the Padres have 35 home runs at home, which is 8th in baseball. Overall, they scored 116 runs at home, that's 19th. Now, let's contrast that with, how the Padres are performing away from home. Now, of course, the Padres have played in many different ballparks already this year. So you can't pigeonhole them. Gosh, I've got a Chinese chicken salad that's excited about these park factors knocking around in my throat. the away statistical factors are not as impacted by park factor because they're playing across different locales. It's a much more neutral way of looking at the team. And right now, the Padres, in terms of their away splits, going into today's game, so not including today, the Padres had a 295 batting average away from home. That's not a typo. They were first in baseball with both a 295
Crazy.
batting average and 231 singles. That is so far ahead of the next closest team, which was the Mets for batting average at 264. That's a 31-point difference. And the Texas Rangers, in terms of singles, who have 200, that is also 31 singles difference. They're unbelievable at getting base hits on the road. In terms of doubles, they have 48 doubles. That's 13th in baseball. They have 5 triples. That's 10th in baseball away from home. And in terms of home runs, they only have 23 home runs away from home. That's tied for 26th in baseball. In a neutral environment, or at least in a small sample size across many different environments, the Padres are singles machines, and they don't hit for a lot of power, at least so far in 2024. At home, you're taking that team and playing them in one specific environment that's really bad at giving up singles and really good at giving up home runs, and you're getting a not great to muddy output. So they're ranked 19th in total runs scored at home. They're ranked 3rd away from home with 157 runs total on the year. What to do about this? I don't know. I don't think there is anything to do. I just think it's really interesting in terms of a way of understanding this team. I want to shout out Denis Lynn in our Discord, who tagged me in a comment and was bringing all this up. And I was like, I got to fucking look into this. And yeah, I mean, the team is built to string together base hits, and they're playing in the exact place that's actually really, really bad to do that. So yes, Chris.
Well, I just want to point out that the home defense at Petco Park happens to be very good at knocking down singles, specifically the infield defense. Ha-Seong Kim might account for a disproportionate amount of that effectiveness against singles. Number 2, this is the Marines' fault. They're understaffed, they're underfunded, they're not getting enough Marines at the game, and the Marine layer is not knocking down home runs like it has in year past.
Blame the Marines.
It's
that
the Marines,
right, Chris? Blame the Marines for the Marine layer.
Yeah, the Marine
I think
layer.
you're misunderstanding that.
What are you talking about?
I think it's a weather effect. I don't think it's actual Marines that form the layer.
Then why are they always there, Craig?
I
They're
think it's
always
an
there.
inversion. I think it's something called inversion, where the clouds are there.
You're talking about dense air?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know about being dense.
Something's
Craig.
dense. So there's something dense going on, for sure.
Well, anyways, it's probably the singles getting knocked down by Ha-Seong Kim then.
Well, okay. So one is a thing and one is a question. Thing. Michael King and Joe Musgrove, I believe, have personally created the 133 home run park factor by hanging meatballs to the Phillies and the Yankees that left the yard. And that's why the park factor is 133, is because those guys have pitched terribly at home and given up way too many bombs. And I don't think it has to do with the park. I mean, like Michael King literally said that this week. Someone asked about how the parks, and he's going, well, I'm responsible for a lot of that. Like, I mean, he is. And Musgrove is. They both had like 4 and 3 home run allowed games at that park. So I think that's noise. I think that part's noise. I think we faced good teams that have smashed bad meatballs at the first part of the season. The singles part is where I have a question. Like, I know they brought in the fences a few times, but like, what is there really no space anymore? I thought the line drive approach is supposed to work at home. Could it be as simple, Raphie, as we're just not hitting at home, and that's why there's not enough singles, because we're just not hitting at home?
It could be. I mean, it certainly probably is. I mean, the only team that plays at Petco Park consistently is the Padres. But I'm hastily trying to look up statistics of away teams at Petco. But yeah, I think, the Padres play good defense at home, and they are
For what it's
certainly,
worth, just to
yeah.
reinforce what Craig said, Michael King has an over 2 home runs per 9 at home. Joe Musgrove has 2.15 home runs per 9 at home this year. Both of them are significantly worse at home than on the road.
Yes. And also, I think you're looking at the fact that Dodger Stadium, which is, I would say, I mean, maybe with Angels Stadium, but I'm just in terms of like the way that the parks are constructed, center field fence that's under, 400 feet, pretty symmetrical, all things considered. You know, they are the other ballpark this season that has the same sort of DNA in terms of park factor. They are the only team that has a higher home run rate, 141 park factor for the Dodgers, and the Dodgers play in Dodger Stadium every game.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah,
Fair.
I hear what
Mookie
you're saying.
Betts and Shohei Ohtani, that's the park factor. It's them. They're hitting homers.
But
Like-
also, Mookie Betts and Shohei Ohtani lead the league in hits. It's just like with Luis Suarez and Jurickson Profar. They're getting a lot of base hits too. And that being said, like Dodger Stadium currently has a singles park factor of 95. It's also below average. You know what I mean? And it's not like the Dodgers don't get base hits at home. They do. Like, they're a good baseball team. So I think it's both. And
Stop
I hear
that
what you're
Dodger
saying.
loving on this show.
There's some no. You were just talking about like being traumatized by a Dodgers 8-run loss in 1990. All right, like,
I know.
Pump the
Listen,
brakes. All right?
But I've worked through it, and now you're dragging me back.
Raphie,
Now I'm
that
looking
neck
to see
tattoo
whether
on
Evan
his
Phillips
neck
is
is
okay.
covered. It's covered.
Yeah, exactly.
Killing me.
I think is there some noise in here? Of course, like there's small park factor sample size, and we're looking at one consistent thing, which is that the Padres play every game at Petco Park. But I'm just saying, how does a team go from being a 295 team to coming home and being a 224 team? Like, I don't get it. I don't get it. And how can you not say that the ballpark isn't a factor in that?
They're too happy at home. These guys need to get a Motel 6 in Mission Valley that they stay in when they are home so that they're together. They're seeing each other over the continental breakfast. Going to separate 26 houses for 26 players seems like a good way to lose games, if you ask me.
The breakfast theory. It's that they're not having a continent. They don't have the waffle maker. We got to get a waffle maker and a little, one
Communal.
of those like 20-in-1 cappuccino machines. I'm sure Joe's got to have one of those. I don't know. We can get it. It's fixable, is what we're saying.
Fixable.
Well, I just looked this up just because we're talking about it, but so far in 2024, the Dodgers are hitting for an 11-point lower average at home, but their on-base percentage home and away is exactly 333, and their slugging percentage home is 432 and road is 431.
That's what I'm saying.
So, like, it's just, yeah, it's this. I don't know.
It's just interesting. There's nothing to be. This is the other thing too. There's nothing to do about it.
But that's
Like-
Raphie. What do I tell Luis Rice? We got to pass this along. How do we fix this?
Tell him to stop sliding weird into second base. And
Yeah,
it'll be
stop
fine.
sliding
Yeah.
weird, Luis.
That's a
Scaring
good
us
call.
all.
That's a good call. I think Manny Machado should hit some more homers.
There we
Too.
go.
Yes.
I think I'd like to just put that into the ether, and then we can we can talk about more things. Padres are in this weird spot. We're just in this weird spot. On one side, I feel like this team should be like on an absolute roll right now. Like there's a version of the world where they're on their 8th straight win right now, where they took the last 2 of the Yankees series and then they swept the Marlins and then they swept the Royals. And I know it sounds weird because they lost the last Marlins game 9-1, but that was a really bummer game for this team. Like, that was a game where the Marlins should have been the one that cashed it in, and instead it was the Padres who cashed it in. Really, and played badly defensively from start to finish. But now you go and you take 2 out of 3 in Kansas City. Great. Kansas City takes the last one. Tough news. We understand why. Now you go to Anaheim. You gotta, this is a big series. You got the Diamondbacks after that for 4. You know how beneficial a 6-1 week would be for the Padres this week? I mean, it would put the Diamondbacks into such a shithole. Like, really bury them, put them into that 23 Padres situation where they're down there 7-8 games under, like just trying to dig their way out, and you don't have to worry about them for a long time. Like, you can just put them down in the hole and be like, well, maybe in a month or 2 we have to worry about them, but like, you've got a chance. You took the first series from Arizona. So on one side, the opportunity is ripe. If this team was healthy and fully fired, I'd be like, here we go. On the other side, 7 games this week, and Mazur's going to start 2. Waldron's going to start 2. Vasquez is going to start 1. That's 5 of the 7. And like, that would absolutely have terrified us like 3 weeks ago. Now we're pinning Waldron on being the way that's going to work forward, as well as Vasquez continuing to be like, plucky 5 1/3, 3 runs allowed.
And the Padres going in and hitting some left-handed pitching.
Yes. Right. I mean, hey, so it's fun. And I just feel like we're going to be here on the knife's edge all year. And the funny thing is, it's like rotating blades, because it's not the same knife's edge. Like, we jump from one knife's edge to another. Hey, now the stars start to hit and your top 2 starters are unplugged. Okay. One knife's edge to the next. We continue on, and we'll be here to talk about it with the Padres Hot Tub. Anything else, gentlemen, before we adjourn?
Gosh, just thank you, everybody, for all the support. Thank you for listening.
Like
Donovan
and subscribe
Solano's
to this video.
hitting 400 with 1,000 OPS.
As predicted. We all knew that was going to happen.
Want to throw that out there.
Thanks. I was just telling people to support our channel and like and subscribe, but go ahead.
Donovan Solano's hitting 400 with 1,000 OPS.
Please go to Instagram, look up Donovan Solano, give him a follow, and several likes of whatever the fuck he is posting.
Keep the vibes
also
going.
Us. All right, we'll be back. If there's a sweep, we'll have an emergency podcast, and Raphie will win a bet.
And you'll apologize.
Otherwise, we'll do group therapy later in the week. And we appreciate all you. Patreon.com/Padres Hot Tub. For Chris and Raphie, I'm Craig. Go Padres!